What's up, YouTube? Got a yo-yo review to do today. This is the One Drop Deep State. Now, I believe these have already dropped as of you're watching this. They dropped this afternoon on the One Drop site. So, like 3 o'clock my time. So, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I think they dropped at noon. Yeah, they dropped at noon, you know, if you're on the West Coast. But yeah, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard, noon West Coast time. You figure out your own time zone in the middle. But this is the One Drop Deep State. The Deep State is One Drop's first ever responsive, semi-responsive yo-yo. It's pretty cool. I dig it, actually. I'm not going to give you all the specs on it because we'll just sort of compare it, but comes in right. The weight on this is really good. It's right around 50 grams, which is where I kind of really like my fixed axles to be. So the weight distribution on this is really good as far as all that's concerned. It does come with these are the regular One Drop side effects in it, so you could switch them out for whatever. I am probably going to do a green. I have a green pair of flat caps. I'm probably going to get a black pair as well. Do a green one over here, black one over here. This was picked up for me by my good friend Sky while she was on vacation. She visited the One Drop store, and she got herself one. She picked one up for me, and we talked about it beforehand, and I paid for it. I wanted one. I buy just about everything One Drop puts out. As far as diameters go, it's pretty much a similar diameter as the Vanguard, as you can see. Pretty close. But way, way, way thinner. This would have been the coolest yo-yo ever in the 90s, honestly. This would have been like the greatest one ever. But as you can see, you know, it's a very similar sort of size, or very familiar sort of diameter. Like I said, weighs in right around 50 grams. I think it's like 51, 52 grams, which is good for a responsive yo-yo. I feel like smaller yo-yos, because this is smaller because it's not as wide, and yo-yos that are responsive, once you kind of get heavier than that, they sort of become weapons that you're going to hurt yourself with, especially if they're metal. Not that you couldn't hurt yourself with this, but you totally could. You know, it's a little better at 50 grams. Pretty good, pretty well controllable. They got kind of a good balance going on there. It's not really responsive. Like, you have to really want it to come back and tug it. Pretty tough to get it back, but it's pretty reliably responsive. Once you kind of get the feel of how responsive you need it to be, or it's pretty reliable as far as that's concerned. This is not going to be for everybody. This is not your standard, oh, this is a great, you know, it's not like the Vanguard where everybody picks it up, like, oh, this is an okay yo-yo. This is a fun yo-yo, but it's a responsive yo-yo. It's a semi-responsive yo-yo, meaning it doesn't loop. At least I can't get it to loop all that well. I'm sure if I set it up and looped the string over it a few times and made sure the bearing was thick lubed, I'm sure it would loop okay. I've seen videos of one of the One Drop team members shooting the moon and then catching it in a lunar landing. I can't do that with this yo-yo, so you're not going to see me do that. I can't loop with it. I probably also have a really long string on here. But it is fun because you can do like a little bit of like fixed axle stalls and stuff with it, and you can also do like some longer string tricks. So it's very much a gap bridge type of yo-yo and it's nice and thin. So if you just want to carry it around and throw it and catch a yo-yo, which is all I did for 20 years, was throw and catch. It's good for that. It's nice and thin, fits in your pocket. I've kind of just been sliding it in my back pocket and wandering around. You can definitely pull off string tricks with it pretty well. Nothing that kind of has slack or anything like that in it so much, but it kind of forces you to clean up your tricks a little bit because it's kind of a narrow gap. And but beginner tricks pretty easy. You know, Buddha's Revenge, stuff like that. You can split the atom with it. You know, do all your front style stuff. Very, very well. You can do all that pretty well. It's not so responsive that it's going to snag back on you consistently, but it is responsive enough that you know you can just tug it back and it'll come back to you. But that's probably enough of me talking about it. Let me show you what I'm talking about as far as how responsive it is versus not responsive, and we will be back. And we're back with the One Drop Deep State. As you can see, responsive pretty consistently, but I'm tugging it pretty hard to get it to come back. I would kind of compare its responsiveness to like an out-of-the-box Omega Raider. I mean, it's much better than the Raider, but that's sort of like, if you've ever played some of the older Omega stuff, it's sort of, without setting it up with the smaller axles and the Raider, you kind of have to break it to make it a looping yo-yo. Without setting it up that way, they're sort of responsive out of the package, or sort of unresponsive out of the package. Well, this is about that level of unresponsive. It still returns to your hand pretty consistently, but it's not like super responsive where you're going to be able to like loop with it. Like, I could do a forward pass, but it kind of lingers at the end of the string a little bit. One of the cool things about this yo-yo is it's pretty smooth. Like, it's one drop smooth. Like, it's 10 out of 10. Like, if you don't drag it along the sides, it's really smooth. Which is really, I don't think I've ever played a responsive yo-yo that's been really smooth, because that just was never a thing. But this one is, and even on the string, it's really smooth. And you can kind of do cool stuff like that. So, as you can see, it's pretty decently like responsive yet unresponsive. So string tricks are pretty doable. Front style stuff too. This would have made splitting the atom. It got me. Would have made this stuff super easy back in the 90s. But now it's just sort of a like, it's kind of a challenge, you know what I mean? So this isn't going to be for everybody. If you're not somebody who likes, if it's basically for the kids of the 90s, I think. That's sort of where I think the interest is going to lie there, or somebody who really wants to do like, just carry something around and throw it and catch it. That's sort of what I've been doing with this since I got it. It didn't respond there, and you can see you can catch your stalls. Cut it on the wrong string, but it's good for that stuff. Don't throw it too hard, otherwise it's gonna hit your knuckles. And good for your old school tricks. It's kind of like I said, sort of an in between of a like fixed axle and a unresponsive string trick yo-yo. So you can pull off more string tricks than you can on a like fixed axle yo-yo, at least more than I can on a fixed axle yo-yo. But at the same time, you can still get some pretty good stalls in there and have a good time with that as well. So I've really been enjoying this. It's been a nice sort of a relaxing throw and catch kind of thing. Not working on new tricks with it or anything crazy like that, but sort of figuring out what I can do on it still. And so far so good. It's been fun, and I'm enjoying it. And it only $50. I mean, this would have been $200 back in the 90s. In fact, I think the Tom Coon Silver Bullets are still like $200. And I've never played one of those because they're like really expensive, but for $50, definitely something cool and different to pick up. If you're into like either fixed axle stuff, or maybe you're a beginner that wants something that's a little bit nicer to throw and catch and learn some beginner type tricks on. I mean, this is great for all that. I mean, I would say you'd probably be able to do everything. You can't do plastic whip with this. At least I can't. Maybe some people can. But you could do a ton of, like, most of up through the intermediate tricks on Yo-Yo Expert with this, as long as you're keeping them clean. And it'll kind of force you to clean up some of your stuff, too, which is always a good thing. But let's throw it back on the desk. We'll do some pros and cons, and that'll be that. All right, guys, we are back on the desk with the One Drop Deep State. Let's pull it apart. I'll show you guys what the guts look like. Actually, pretty pretty common for one drops actually. So you got your one drop flat bearing, which is always good. They come lubed, like thick lubed, so that they can be responsive. One of the things about a responsive yo-yo is to maintain its responsiveness, you're going to have to keep lubing the bearing. So as the lube kind of breaks in, it's going to get more and more unresponsive, or at least less reliably responsive. So you are going to have to either hit it with some thick lube. Thick lube, though, like 3-in-1 oil works and stuff like that. So nothing, you don't have to go and specifically buy thick lube. But if you have thick lube, it will help you keep your yo-yo responsive if you want to keep it that way. I can't imagine it will be reliably unresponsive once the lube breaks in, though, or if you switch the bearing. So just keep that in mind. So high wall is sort of a like I don't know. Like it not only is it a high wall, like it's all wall. So very much I'd say sort of a like old school butterfly shape type wall. Very little curvature there, but you can see it's got like a little curve in, so you kind of got a little bit of a flare there to catch it on the string. A little rim cap here to just facilitate, I guess, a little bit more rim weight, but it's not super rim weighted, and because of the flat caps and the side effects, you do kind of get a good bit of center weight as well. So it's kind of just it's surprisingly stable for how thin it is, but it's not like crazy stable. Clearly, I mean, it's not going to be crazy stable. Like, that's just not the way it's going to be. Does come with side effects, as you can see, and they're just the regular side effects. So you could switch these out for any one drop side effects, which is actually really cool. I was curious about that when I first saw them. Like, are they short? Or are they? No, they're regular side effects. So very cool as far as that's concerned. Standard one drop flow groove response pads, and they are flush with the yo-yo, so they don't stick up. They're not raised up or anything. At least not much. They're pretty flush with the yo-yo, as you can see. So very good design as far as all that's concerned. Pros and cons. Pros, it is a response. It's very different. That's a great pro. Super different, super cool. Just kind of a joy to play. It's a very relaxing yo-yo. You're not gonna get any serious string tricks in on this. You're not gonna be working on any deep mounts or anything like that. You're just gonna throw this and catch this. Some people will like that. Some people will not like that. So if you're the kind of person who is like, oh man, I don't do flat bearings and responsive yo-yos and all that, I'm not into that at all. This won't be for you. This is sort of for guys like me, I think. Guys who grew up playing yo-yo in the 90s, picked it back up at some point after they became unresponsive, but still hold a soft spot in their heart for responsive yo-yos, and would like to try their hand at doing some more modern tricks on a responsive yo-yo, but at the same time seeing what you can pull off on a responsive yo-yo, while also being able to throw it and catch it and maybe do some fixed axle tricks as well. So, cons are that it's not going to be for everybody, and to each his own. A lot of people aren't going to like this, just because this isn't going to be their thing. They prefer to play unresponsive all the time, and something like this just isn't going to be up their alley. It's not going to be something they're going to want to play with. Me, on the other hand, I've played with this every day since I got it. Maybe not a ton, but it's been pretty much constantly either in my pocket or I've just been throwing it around as I wander the house. It's nice to be able to just throw and catch a yo-yo with one hand, especially with the kids. So, just been having a good time with it. So, if this might be something that might interest you, I do think it was done really, really well. And, as everything One Drop does is done really well. And for $50, a machined in USA responsive yo-yo would have been an insanely cheap price back in the 90s, because stuff like this sort of existed then, but it cost a whole lot more. So at $50, definitely a good price. It's starting at $50. I don't know. I enjoy it. It's good stuff. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tell me down in the comments, are you going to pick up a deep state? Is this your thing? Is this not your thing? Clearly this is my thing, but I always do the fixed axle stuff, and, you know, when I heard One Drop was going to do this, I was like, ooh, what a fun little thing for me to have. So, I'm definitely digging it, but let me know down in the comments if this is your thing, guys. But thanks so much for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Cheers to you, and I'll see you next time.